Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retail Therapy with Renelle, myself. This is class number 2. Today is January the 9th, 2020, and I want to tell you all Happy New Year. If I have not seen you at an event or out and about, Happy New Year. I hope things are going well for everyone. Um, just to bring you any newcomers up to speed, my name is Renelle Welch, and I am the founder of the Ultimate Ladies Night. And we are a group that comes together every month, once or twice a month, for women empowerment centered events. So this can be anything from networking, which we just had last weekend at our Extreme event, from speed dating, which we'll be doing next month. So really fun get-togethers and things that we can do together with one another and vibe off one another. But this is a little bit different, okay? This is for my vendors and my small business owners who come and support us through events. You know, we have a lot of pop-up shops at our events. So this here is for you guys. I have been in the retail industry for 17 years, working in management and human resources, as well as administration. So I have a lot of information that I want to share, just best practices and tips that I think many of you could benefit from. Last month we did our training class was on first impressions, aka merchandising, brand imaging, and things of that nature. So this month, we are changing gears and we're going with one that is very dear and near to my heart, which is customer service. I know that my daughter probably gets so tired of me going on and on about customer service when we're out and about in the stores. I have a very high expectation for customer service because I worked in that sector for so long and trained hundreds of cashiers and other associates, sales associates, on register practices, money handling, customer service, all of those great things, return policies, procedures. So yeah, I have a wealth of knowledge. So one thing I want to make sure that you know is available to you is that if you want to ask me any questions, I am open and I will try my best to answer. The cool thing about working in retail and human resources is that you make a lot of connections. So anytime I've ever had an issue or a problem or a question that I myself could not answer, I definitely have a circle of other business professionals, human resource professionals that I can actually communicate with and bounce your questions off of them and see what their take is. Okay. So shoot me your questions. Any of our emails is fine, but info at the ultimatelady'snight.com is the quickest and easiest way to get in contact with me. So if you have any questions, just put those in there and message or name the message retail therapy with Renelle or something of that nature, so we know how to route your email. Okay. So, a little bit about my background. Graduated Eastern Michigan University with a major in communications, a minor in health administration. At one point, I did want to work in the health field, but I have worked in retail since my very first job, which was Target, at the age of 16. So I have went, just to have a part-time job, worked retail through college, and I just ended my career in human resources as a consultant just 2 years ago. So I have a lot of background information. I've worked for many big box retailers such as Lowe's, Macy's, Target, which I mentioned, Myers, even specialty stores such as New York and Company, Destination Maternity. I know I'm forgetting someone, and Victoria's Secret. So those have been a lot of the places that I have worked at various stages in my career. And then as a human resource consultant, I got some experience doing international business, accounts receivable and payable, and things of that nature. So But today we're talking about customer service and why customer service is so important. It's kind of cliche. You hear it all the time. You know, the customer is either always right, or the customer is, you know, the basis for why you are here, or why you're in business, or why you have a job. And that is 100% true. My job is to help you, give you some tips and tools to make that process and following that process easier. Okay. So one thing that I love about my very first job is that they kind of brainwashed me in the level of customer service that I would give their customers, and in turn, each customer that I interact with from that moment on, all those years ago. And that is a fast, fun, and friendly model. It seems very simple, and some people really struggle on that. You know, have you ever been to a store and, you know, you're kind of in a rush, you have some things to do, you have some place to go, and it just seems like the cashier is just, you know, just dead to the world. Like, they are dragging, they have no sense of urgency. So you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, okay. You don't want to, you know, seem rude or anything, but you really wish that they would just hurry up. But then again, you have from a employer standpoint, you know, you want your cashiers to be efficient. So there's a balance that has to be found between being fast and efficient. Okay. You can't say, oh, I made a mistake because I was moving too fast because I needed to get this customer taken care of. That is not a valid excuse, and it won't be accepted. And in the same token, you can't, you know, just take forever, because, you know, this is the environment that you are working in, is that people want things, they want them now. Okay. They don't like to wait. Everything is instant, you know what I mean? Like, so they want to get in and get out as quickly as possible. So when we translate that, that's from a big box retail perspective. But when we translate that into pop-up shops and small business storefronts and brick and mortars, you know, what does that look like? What does fast customer service look like in those environments? Okay, so this really boils down to the first tip, which is preparation. Okay. If you ever notice, you know, if you've ever been to an event that has a lot of foot traffic, time is taken by little small nuances that you just have to do, like counting money, or grabbing product from, you know, your stock, packaging, you know, the complete process. You know, selling is a great part of that too. But we talked a little bit about that in First Impressions, our last class, about, you know, using signage and things that can help ease some of the burden off of you, because, you know, it's a lot of talking, and you have, you know, some events you may have 40, 50 people, but others you may have hundreds of people that walk through, and you want to touch all of them and give them all your pitch. So in order for that to happen, you have to have some level of signage that will help you in that regard. Okay. But in order to be fast and efficient, you should just prepare. Okay. So one thing that I did, you know, after I did a few pop-ups, I noticed, okay, I noticed that I should have my bags prepped and ready, you know, for when I'm going to put the merchandise in. You know, are the bags the appropriate size for what the customer is purchasing? Or will I you know, spend a lot of time trying to find something else that they can carry their items out in? So, you know, just being prepared, having those items already ahead of time. If you want to drop in, you know, business cards or flyers, just having that stuff already done and set to the side. Any accompaniments that may go, if you have any food or anything like that, you may need silverware and napkins. Just having those things already will make that transaction go a lot faster. Also, you have to think about taking payments. You know, what are your payment methods, and how can you get your customer checked out as quickly as possible? A lot of people use Square readers and different card processing readers to make that process quicker. I do recommend those. Just make sure that you look at the most optimal as far as processing fees go. There are options out there. So I know a lot of us, you probably, like myself, just went for the first thing, you know, the first thing that you saw, and that's Square. It's easy to order, you know, free of charge to get the reader. and you probably pay minimal attention to the actual processing fees. Now, in the beginning, this won't be, that important to you, but as you start to grow, you'll see that those 2.5%, add up when your purchases are larger. Okay. So that's something to also take a look at. So just making sure that you are prepared, that you have your bags, your packaging items, that go along with the items that they're purchasing, that you have quick payment processing. If you are using things like Cash App and PayPal, have those identifiers, handlers made available for the customer. You could put them on, a little small 8x10 sheet of paper. You could put them on cardboard paper. I'm sorry, cardstock paper, thicker paper, and just have them so you can reuse them. And it's really simple. Just put down your hashtags or your identifiers so that customers don't have to come and ask, oh, where do I send the money or how can I pay? And it makes the process go a lot quicker as well. Okay. So make sure that you try to be efficient and that you make sure you're fast. Another thing is to, I cringe at the question for new, pop-up events for, smaller organizations. I hate when they ask the question, how many people do you expect? Because oftentimes for many of us, this may be the first time that we're putting on this particular event or this type of event. So I try to always give an estimate of how many people usually turn out for our events on average, to answer that question. But sometimes if you're going to a large venue, something at Cobo Hall or something at a venue, a festival that that there's going to be very high, there's going to be very high foot traffic. You want to secure additional help in advance. Okay. The worst thing is for you to lose on money and business because you don't have enough manpower there to actually, handle the traffic. So make sure that you have those things and you've thought about them and you've prepared yourself for those things. Okay. Another thing that they taught was fun. Now, this is probably the one that gets, the least amount of attention, but it's so important. Making a lasting connection with the customer. Every interaction with your customer should always start with a greeting, a warm, sincere greeting, okay? And that usually 99.9% of the time includes a smile. I very seldom have ever been warmly greeted without them having a smile attached to the greeting. Good morning. How are you? Welcome to introduce your business. Welcome to the Ultimate Ladies Night. I'm so glad you stopped at my table. Or welcome into our store. I'm so glad that you stopped by today. You really do need to make the effort in making your customer feel that you are happy, genuinely happy that they are there. Even big box retailers find a way to convey this to their everyday associates so that it gets to their customer. They have imagery of thank you all on the signage near the rep stands, on the, where the customer is paying at. They make the cashier say thank you. They even put it on the receipt. So this gratis, this gracias, this thank you is always in their face. And it is no different for you as a pop-up shop or as a small business for you to not just, convey that same feeling, because it really is that person that you are standing in front of that is keeping your business afloat. So it is a very optimal time to make a lasting impression. So making sure you reiterate their purchase, make a comment about it. Oh, it's easier for us when we're doing pop-ups because, hey, I have to educate you on my business. I have to tell you about my products, what they do and what makes them special. But then you have, sometimes where you may not have that, you might not be in that environment. So you may have to make a connection to the purchase. You may have someone who just walks by and says, oh my God, I love this this water bottle. And then, you're like, okay, well, that was an easy sell. It just kind of spoke to them, as I'm making a mess. The water bottle just spoke out to them. So it's not as much education. They may already be aware of the product. We did a lava bead bracelet in our lady box next month. And for most people, I had to educate what the lava bead bracelet was, what it did, how you use it. I had one on. I was showing examples of things of that nature. I would try to, show some type of correlation between how I personally use it, and the oils that I use with it. There was some education that go there. But then there were people who, oh, I have one. I use mine every day. Oh, yes, I love using essential oils. Excuse me. So that was unnecessary for me to go into all of that educational piece. But you have to remember to make a connection. So you may see, as today I'm wearing my Alex and Annie necklaces. So you may say, hey, I recognize that Alex and Annie. Oh, that is so cute. Is that Alex and Annie? Now you are talking about something other than your product or your service. And it's genuine, and genuinely have the conversation with them, because people can always tell when you're faking or putting on a facade. So make sure that you make a connection that is lasting, and that they can say, oh, I met this young lady at this event, and I remember her talking to me about my necklace, and then I, engaged with her further, and it makes your interaction memorable. Okay. So being fun. It is okay to have, light joking, light chitter chatter with your customers. Be friendly and open. So in order to do that, you have to induce some type of fun. You can say a comment about the items that they're purchasing, and, think of a funny story that you have. So while you're packaging them, they're not just sitting there waiting to pay or whatever the case may be, but you're still engaging with them. So you're servicing them through the entire transaction. And that looks like, yeah, I remember this story. A customer purchased this and the funniest thing happened. And you'll just continue on that conversation, and it makes the time go by faster. So now you have dipped off into the fast. You're also being fun as well. So another thing that you could do, or another tip that is very important, is friendly. Okay, it's very important that you are friendly. You cannot fake friendly. Okay, no matter what you try to do, you just can't do it. And that's just being pleasant. That's with the sincere greetings. That's with the if someone asks you a question. I see a lot of times, often on social media, in some of these groups, a lot of professional small business owners and entrepreneurs will want to vent, and they will say things like, I hate this customer asked me a silly question. And you can't look at it like that. There is no such thing as a silly question. Even though it may be silly to you, somewhere along the lines they didn't get the clear message, or they missed it. What I've learned working in retail is that you come in contact with a lot of different skill levels, personalities, backgrounds. Everyone does not think, behave, and move like you. So it is important for you to realize that, and always be open, and have, be open for people to come and be approachable. There have been very many pop-up shop events that I've attended to, and I would look at someone's table, and I may even be interested, just off of brand imaging, their product, and I will go, want to go over, but the person standing there is not welcoming. They're not looking approachable. They're not smiling. They're not standing in front of their product, or next to their product. They're down. They're sitting behind the table with their phone in their hand. Their eyes are down. Now, if your eyes are down, how do you even remotely look like you are ready to take a customer, or that you are inviting someone into your space? If you are engaged in another activity, or speaking to someone, or your attention is otherwise diverted, it's not going to make me want to come and approach you and ask you about your product. So it's actually a deterrent. So you have to make sure that your actions, you are on the clock. Even though we as entrepreneurs don't actually punch a clock, some of us don't punch a clock. There are some softwares out there that I use that you can actually use to keep track of your time, but you are literally on the clock for your business. So you should take it as you're working. You wouldn't do that, or they wouldn't let me allow my cashiers to do that when I worked in retail, because you should always look busy. If you're leaning, you should be cleaning, right? So you should always be engaged with the customer. I'm not saying you have to have a permanent smile, but when you see someone approach, you should adjust. You should put your phone, away. You should be inviting, okay? Those are friendly things that you can do that will make people want to come up to you and spend money with you. Okay, so this is one thing that I want to talk about, and it's the saying that the customer is always right. And usually people who say this never worked in retail before. It's in no way possible you have, because we know, those of us that work in retail, the customer is wrong often. Okay, the customer is wrong often, and the way we can help, help with that problem, it can be very frustrating when you're trying to appease a customer and educate the customer at the same time. And that takes a little bit of skill, and it takes some investing to do. So, you may have policies or procedures that only you know. Okay, that you are educated on. You know your process, you know your operations, you know how you run your business. The problem is that most people who will come and support you or be patrons of your business have zero clue about your business model or your return policy, or even basic education on the items that you use to make things or whatever. I remember years ago when I was deep with Ariston. For those of you who don't know, Ariston is my chocolate business. It's an event planning business. It's still active. It's just put on the back burner for right now while I focus on other things. But, we used to make chocolate treats, chocolate lollipops, things of that nature. So this particular customer wanted pop. I call them lolly cake pops, but people call them cake pops. I call them lollipops. And she wanted so many, and it was a Frozen themed birthday. And I remember it because I was like, oh, this is cool. At the time, my daughter was into Frozen and everything. So I was like, oh, this would be fun. So I did it. And if you don't know, when you make cake pops, there are a couple different ways you can make them. But the most common way is that you take already baked cake, so the cake is baked in the oven, and you mix it with a certain amount of frosting. Okay, and then you combine it together and it forms a sort of dough. And you form it into a ball, and then you dip it in the chocolate. Well, I think that she assumed that because of the texture changes when you add the frosting to the cake, that it was underdone. And I was like, when she said that, I was like, huh? Like, the cake was done. Like, it was crumbled up and it was completely done. And then, you mixed it in, so the texture had changed and it becomes like a truffle more so than tasting like actual cake. I think she may have assumed that it was going to be like cake, and you just dip the cake in the chocolate. Well, that doesn't work, because most of the time the cake isn't strong enough to hold on to that heavy chocolate. So, the customer is always right. It was the customer right. To her, it tastes underdone. So what she needed was education on how the process works and how it gets to that, that way. Because if I would have given her another order, we would have ended up with the same result, because the way I made it was not changing. It was going to taste exactly the same. So in that case, she needed education. Okay, so there are certain circumstances where the customer just has a lack of knowledge, and it is, no matter what you think previously before this video, it is 100% your responsibility to educate your consumer on your products, period. Okay, you cannot take for granted that, oh, it's common sense. I just was telling someone this yesterday. Common sense is not common. So do not take for granted that they know or that they assume anything. Okay. Make sure that your policies are balanced. If you have a no refund policy, always leave room for exceptions. I had to postpone an event that the customer may not be available during the new date. I have to take that into consideration. Unless I clearly stated that, like on the ticket, on the website, on the flyer, like absolutely no refunds. But that makes for a difficult customer service. You want to set the expectations and the rules clear and state them clearly. Don't make them hard for the customer to find, but you also want to have room for leniency in your policy so that you are able to accommodate those special circumstances. We have many rules in retail that, we follow. This is the case, da, 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 da. But every so often we would come across an instance where A plus B usually equals C, but in this customer case, it actually equals D. And it's not the customer's fault that it equals D, it's actually our fault. And then we would have to make an exception. So always just try to accommodate your customer in any way possible. Okay. Don't lose or don't, take a loss to your business in doing so, but be prepared. That goes back to our tip, being prepared. If you're prepared for these things, try different scenarios. I could speak for hours on the different various scenarios that I came across leading the customer service and returns department at one of my jobs. I mean, like every possible scenario that you can think of. And you have to be quick on your feet, and you have to think fast. So you may not get every scenario down, but try to think of some possible mishaps that can happen with your products or services. Okay. What if they're not happy? You may not be able to do a full refund, but if you can salvage the relationship with the customer, you can offer them a future discount that they can use. And that way you get another opportunity to make it better. And that's the goal. Ultimately, right? The goal is to increase our customer base. The goal is to make connections with people, because you want someone to say, hey, I purchased this tumbler here. It was the best tumbler I ever had. My water never tastes so cold. It's just amazing. I've dropped it 16 times and it still hasn't broken. So you really want those type of interactions, because your customers are your best asset. They are your advertising. They are your promotion. They are your marketing. Okay, repeat customers are the best for your business. So it's important that if you want those reviews, you don't get reviews for just doing bare minimum. I've never seen a review that said, they just took care of me. You either get horrible reviews talking about how awful it was, or you get reviews talking about how great and amazing you were. You never get reviews like they just did their job. No, you get reviews that say, I came in, I had went to 3 other horrible people. They couldn't do it for me. I went to this person. She did it. Not only she did it, she did this, and she gave me this. That stuff translates. Okay. It's very important. The workforce. Your workforce is you, and you may have staff, but for the most part, for small business owners and for other entrepreneurs, the workforce oftentimes is you, and then other family members. So it's very important that you know your policies and that you are educated. You are an educated employer. Okay, you never want customers to come to you with an inquiry about your business and you don't know. You have to be informed, or you have to have a really nice way of being able to get out that question. You know what? I've never been asked that before. That is a really great question. Well, and I'll give the tip that I give to people, and this is free game, that I give to people who interview and they can't think of an example. You have to give an example of a time where XYZ. I always say, what would you do if that happened? And make sure that your answer is appropriate. But think about, what would you do if those things happen, and answer that. So that's a good tip that you could also use if you get hit with a customer question that you just do not off the top of your head have the answer. Okay. Another tip is to know your customers. So let me retract in case you guys are writing this down and going number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 1 is preparation. Okay. Number 1 is preparation. Number 2 is having a balanced policy and workforce. Okay. So you're able to ensure that the customer continues to think that they're always right. Okay, so third is know your customer and their needs so you can better serve them. Okay, So if you have done a business plan, you've already done this work. But if you're like me and you started a business without a business plan and then added a business plan after you started your business, you could be in those very early stages. It's very important that you take a look at, you may actually be shooting in the dark. You may say, hey, I have a really great idea. I have a really great product, or I have a really great service. I really don't know who's going to like it. I'm just going to go ahead and make it. Some things are, no nonsense. Let's take the Ultimate Ladies Night, for example. The Ultimate Ladies Night. Okay, women are involved. We can say that for sure. But you may have a product that is not that precise and clear and cutthroat. So I'm sorry, not cut through, clear cut is the word I was looking for. But if you are in that predicament, then you have some research to do. There are some tools that you can use if you use Eventbrite, if you use things like Facebook. They have analytics, charts and graphs that kind of gather all this data and give you, a good, accurate, or, depending on how consistent you are with using these platforms, a good accurate reflection of your customer base. Whenever I sell tickets on Eventbrite, it tells me where most of my ticket sales are coming from. It ranks them. It tells me where my sales, what path or platform my sales took place in. On Facebook, it drills down to tell you not only, and I believe Instagram does this as well, not only male, female, but it tells you age demographic. So these are things that you need to know, because your pitch, your marketing, all of that stuff could really be affected. If you have something that is geared towards older or mature women, retirees after they have worked 30 plus years in their career, and your products, you see that, okay, wow, majority of my customer base comes from this demographic. They might not know who Cardi B is, so it might not be a good idea to use her as one of your promo tactics, or things that are not familiar, they're not familiar with. It won't resonate with them, and it'll just fall on deaf ears, and it'll be moot points. So know your audience. Okay. One thing that you will notice about two competitors, one I worked for, one I didn't, is Lowe's and Home Depot. What you will notice is that Home Depot, if you go in there, it's very straight to the point. Okay, this is a drill. It's a drill. That's what it is. You either want it or you don't. You gonna buy the drill or you're not gonna buy the drill. What you want? It's very, no fancy, like, decor or nothing like that. It's the product. It is what it is. It's here for you, ready, handily, if you want to take it. It reminds me, and then my boyfriend loves going to Home Depot. Okay. He loves the whole experience from the time he walk in the door. He don't even be buying anything. He will go and walk around and play with the stuff, and like he's trying on clothes, for me, that would be a triple. Like, he's just in there. He's in his own little world. Then he ends it with a hot dog at the hot dog stand. It's a whole thing for him. But Lowe's, if you notice, it's bright. Okay, bright lights, displays are vibrant, a lot of color. It's welcoming. The displays are interactive. They're welcoming. It's bright. It's warm. That's done on purpose. Okay, Lowe's is it feels like it's women friendly. I remember I started Ladies Night at Lowe's years ago. I did my very first lady nights. It was a Sunday, and we did DIY, type things. And we just had a really good time. I had all my vendors, the paint vendors, and everybody come out. We had food, cheesecake, drinks. We even had music. We had raffles. It was so much fun. So that's marketing to that customer. Home Depot just really vibes out for my boyfriend, and I prefer, if I have to choose between the two, I'm going to go to the Lowe's because it's just more inviting and I feel more safe there. You really don't know what you're doing, and you kind of got an idea, and it's just a safe environment. So make sure that you do the same thing for your small business or your pop-up. Who is your customer? Who are you marketing to? Spend a little time to actually dive into that and get to know who your customer is. You can also do surveys, at your table, or you can send surveys to people after they've made a purchase. There are many platforms for those types of things. And we're going to go over a lot of resources on our freebie day, which is an upcoming class. It's the class right before our last one. So that's when we're going to let you guys in on all of the things that we have discovered, the tricks of the trade, as far as getting free resources for things that you need for your business, and having actual links and things of that nature to go with that. Okay. So spend the time to get to know your customer. SurveyMonkey is a good tool I've seen people use before. They have polls that you can use on Facebook and Instagram. There are a lot of different things that you can use to actually get this done. Okay, so I've been talking your ear off for, it looks like, over 35 minutes. I have 5 overall best practices. They're really quick. I'm not going to get into very detail with them, but just things for you to think about when you're doing your next event, or your next when you're in your brick and mortar, when you're open, things that you can share with your teams. Okay, number 1, I said it 1,000 times, and it's smile. Okay, these are quick tips. Smile. See? Now look at the smile versus if you walk up to me and I'm like this. Hello. You see the difference it makes, and that really translates. Smile. Number 2, come from behind the wrap stand, as we say in retail, or come from behind your table. Come from behind the table. Stand up. If it's if everyone is sitting, then sitting is okay. But if you have the option to stand, always stand. Number 3, know your products. Know your products, okay? If you sell t-shirts, you should know how the t-shirt fit. Do it fit true to size? Do it fit a little big? Educate your customer and, suggest to them, hey, I advise for yours, for you, you're looking for this. I advise you to go up a size, or I advise you to go down a size. Spend the time to educate yourself on your own products and services, okay? 4, be flexible. Be flexible. You have to be flexible. Think of all the things that go wrong on the day-to-day with just being an entrepreneur. Think of how many times you've made the wrong copy, or printed the wrong thing, or said the wrong thing, or sent the wrong email, or even posted the wrong video, or made a mistake in your video. Think of how many times different various things go wrong. You will have to be flexible. So you should in turn be flexible for your customer, because there's nothing worse than when, you have these very, 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 very tight policies. And let's say, you said that you were going to have, something at an event, and at the last minute you were unable. How horrible would it be for that customer to say, I want my money back because you did not do this. And it was probably something very small. I'm not talking about like the gist of what they have purchased, but maybe a small detail that you had to omit and it was out of your control. You would hope that that customer is flexible. So make sure, like I said earlier about your policies and being balanced, that you are flexible as well, because things happen to customers all the time. I have events where customers want to come, but they can't. Something bad happens, and it's a non-transferable ticket, but they want to send their friend in their space. I'm definitely going to transfer the ticket, because things happen. And if it was, the shoes on my foot, I would expect the same in return, or I would want someone to look out for me in that way. Number five, and probably, the best advice I can give you as an entrepreneur, and something that I struggle with myself, and that is just following up. Follow up with your customers. We are so excited and amped to get the sale that oftentimes once we get the sale, hey, we may send an email later on letting them know about the next thing we got coming on, But once we get the sale, once we get the like, once we get the follow, it's like done deal. Follow up with your customers. Ask for feedback, okay? Because criticism, although it's hard for some to take, constructing criticism can actually help you grow, and it can motivate you to do better. You can be thinking, hey, I got this down pat. And I will tell you that it is not until people who really value and appreciate honesty, and people who can see, potential and my vision primarily, have been some really effective, critiquers of my business. They tell me things that I may not see. I kind of think that, if I post it, everyone knows about it. Period. Everybody sees it. So I shouldn't have to answer any questions about what date it is, how much tickets. It's on the flyer. That's me. It's on the flyer. Okay. Why do I have to? It's on the flyer. Read the flyer. I sent you, that's how I get. But you can't take, any of those things for granted. You have to follow up with your customer. You have to ask them for feedback, and you have to realize that, hey, everybody might not be reading the flyer. Somebody might have just shared the flyer because they were being supportive, or they liked it and stored it away. You have to take that out. Take the ego out of it. Take the criticism, and then, hey, it allowed me to take an extra 2 seconds with everybody that I interact with and say, before I just say, hey, are you coming? Hey, did you get a chance to take a look at the flyer I sent you about the event on da-da-da-da-da? And that reels them back in. They may have even forgot about it. But that follow-up, whatever, from me. So 2 things here. Being able to accept feedback from others, and then in turn using that feedback and follow up with other customers to see how you can improve in the future. And that, I honestly, I tell you, no kid, that will take you so far. Just letting someone know after they made their purchase, hey, thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate that. Even like a couple days after, or just saying, hey, how'd you like that? I like when Yolanda, you all know Yolanda. If you don't, she has a phenomenal business, Ava's Divine Wellness, and she does skincare and natural home-based products, but they're amazing. We use them for our dry skin and our eczema here at home. But she'll call, if she has a new soap, she'll call or text in a couple of days and say, hey, how'd you like the soap? How did it work out for you? Do you notice any differences and things of that nature? And it made me feel valued as a customer, that she's concerned about my skin, about my well-being, and that she didn't forget about me after she got my money. So those things really matter. And lastly, in number 5, along with follow-up, is the thank you. And I've already spoken about how important that is. So, never, ever underestimate the power of a sincere thank you. Okay, it's 2 words and we hear them all the time, but I have been in instances where that thank you would have changed everything. If I've been waiting in the line for 25 minutes and I come up there and you just start ringing me out and you don't, thank you for waiting. Oh, that makes me be in a whole different mood. But if you just say, thank you for your patience. Oh, I let it all go. It's gone, melted away. And I'm ready to give you a new chance because I know that it really isn't your fault. So that's it for today. I appreciate you guys, you spending this time with me. We do this every second Thursday of the month. If you have any questions about anything retail related, I am here for you. This is free game. If you sign up, you get this video free of charge. If anybody else wants to see them after we have went live with them, it's just a $4.99 fee, and we will definitely send you the link for that. If you have any questions for me about the content that I shared today, or if you would like to submit a question for a future class, our next class is February the 13th, right before Valentine's Day. So if you have any questions for that class, feel free to send them to me, info@theultimatelady'snight.com. Again, that's info@theultimatelady'snight.com. And I wish you all the best in your first quarter of the year. Like I said, I'm here for you guys. Follow me on social media. I will follow back. And if any way I can help or support you, I am here. Until next time, I will see you. And boot camp is now closed.